So the UFC is heading back to China with an unbelievable fight night main event between Petr No Mercy Yan and the former flyweight champion and the guy that has been on an absolute tear at bantamweight in Deiveson Figueiredo. And I understand a little bit that the drawback might be, well, we don't have a Chinese fighter inside of the main event, but in the co-main event, we have Xianon taking on Tabitha Ricci, and not just, those two matchups in particular. This card has a lot of fights on there that I think are going to end and finish, and I think that this is going to be a very, very fun fight night taking place in China, and I think we can all agree it's always great when the UFC gets outside of the apex, right? And in particular, when we get a very fun fight night, because the pay-per-views are always in front of a giant crowd, but getting these fight nights back in front of audiences, this is what we need, and this card has a lot of fun fights on it, and I want to break down in depth several fights on this card, but I first want to give a couple of shout outs here, talking about Loner Kavanaugh, a guy that is going to be taking on Jose Ocho, who, I'm not super familiar with Jose, but what I can tell you about Loner Kavanaugh, this dude is an absolute savage, man. He's injecting a lot of energy into the flyweight division, coming off of a nasty KO performance on Dana White's Contender Series just this year. So he's now, getting his first opportunity inside the UFC. He's fought in Cage Warriors. This dude is lethal on the feet. He's got legit power in his hands. He is always a fun guy to watch. And not only that, we have Zhang Mingyang. And let me tell you something about Zhang. This dude is an absolute savage, man. And if you didn't see him his last time out, first round finish. And not only that, the dude has 11 wins by KO, 6 by submission, and 17 wins. This dude, every single time he wins a fight, it is in the first round. And he's in there against Ozzy Diaz. And a lot of people might go, well, who the hell's Ozzy Diaz? Unfortunately, he's probably most known for getting KO'd on Dana White's Contender Series by Joe Pyfer, but he is an absolute scrapper. He likes to move forward. He is not afraid of a fight. We are going to see a finish in this matchup. I think Zhang is probably going to be the one getting the finish. But two prospects on the rise inside the UFC that you have to have your eye on is Loner Kavanaugh and Zhang in this match on this card. So just wanted to point that out. But I want to talk about some of the big fights we have here on this card. And I want to start with, let's go with Bang Bang Wang and Gabrielle Fernandes. Now, Wang Cong I dubbed her Bang Bang Wang because one of the things about her is she is absolutely spectacular, right? We saw her in her UFC debut. There was a lot of hype around here coming off of that kickboxing victory back in the day against Valentina Shevchenko. And whenever you talk about, well, I beat Valentina Shevchenko, well, that's going to raise a lot. People are going to turn heads. They're going to be like, who the hell beat Valentina? You know what I mean? And especially in striking only, but what we got to see from Bang Bang Wang in her very first matchup inside the UFC, she stands out in women's MMA, man. And it's hard, with all due respect, it's hard in women's MMA to get a really crazy head-turning performance. We just saw one on the Contender Series recently, but we see a contender here with Wang who is absolutely dangerous. She has very good striking, she has pinpoint accuracy, and she has elite power inside the division. And not only that, she's going in there against Gabriella Fernandes, who she's not a world beater, right? She does have a couple submissions on her record. We haven't seen a ton of her grappling inside the UFC prior to getting to the UFC. We've seen a little bit of it, but on the feet, she's a fun fighter. She's got good striking. She kind of tends to spam, she's a southpaw. She tends to spam her rear leg kick a lot. She throws it to the head, she throws it to the body, she throws it to the leg, and she tends to overuse that tool a little bit, which I think is going to get her into some trouble against Wang, because Wang, she's been doing kickboxing and striking her entire life, and I think is just going to step in and time it and throw a nasty right hand down the middle, which will get Gabriella out of there. But Gabriella's dangerous. She's fun to watch. She does have good hand speed, but the UFC has definitely done her a favor by they've given Wang a very good dance partner here. Gabriella is not particularly a boring fighter. We have seen some boring moments, which is because her opponents have not wanted to stand in front of her. They've tried to just, control her and grapple the entire time, where when she gets to space, she lets her kicks fly, she lets her hands go. She's a little hesitant at times, but this is a very good dance partner for Bang Bang Wang in this matchup, because I absolutely think that we see Wang get a finish here. And I believe with a highlight reel-like performance, even just a finish or an impressive performance all around, I think she's going to get a ranked opponent next. I mean, there is, women's MMA is kind of starving for big names and for superstars and fun fighters. And Wang has the opportunity to go in there in China and get a huge win over Gabriella. I think she does it, but this is going to be an exciting fight. Have your eye on this one. Moving on. We have Volkan Oezdemir and Carlos Ulberg. Now, this is a very interesting fight, right, in the light heavyweight division, because when it comes to light heavyweight, we kind of have a stale division, right? We got Poatan as champ, he's fighting Khalil Roundtree, and we kind of have a lot of murky waters where there's not a lot of new water flowing in and out. It kind of tends to be the same names. But what you have here is a guy in Volkan Oezdemir who I think is one of the most underrated guys in the entire UFC right now. He is just constantly flying under the radar. Nobody is talking about Volkan Oezdemir, and I think that it's incredibly disrespectful because Volkan, he fought for the title, what seems like forever ago, against Daniel Cormier, and ever since that, he's had some ups, he's had some downs, but he is absolutely starting to find his groove. And the thing about Oezdemir, he has absolute bricks in his hands. He's got good boxing, he's got good pressure, and he is not afraid of a fight. And what we've seen in his past two fights, his most recent one against Johnny Walker, absolutely brutal KO. And we know that if you just sit there and box with Volkan Oezdemir, it might be a problem because he has crazy power. And then the fight before that against Guskov, we saw him win by submission. So you're getting to see Volkan Oezdemir is well-rounded, he's dangerous, and he is absolutely a finisher. But he's going in there against Carlos Ulberg. And I think Carlos Ulberg is a really tough matchup for Volkan because what Volkan does very well is move forward, kind of just impose his dominance on you in terms of just he's a big, strong guy. And when he starts to move forward, you start to get kind of scared. You're like, oh shit, I can't let him throw on me because if I get tagged, I'm probably going to get knocked the hell out. And Carlos Ulberg has that city kickboxing style where he sits on the outside. He uses a lot of feints. He utilizes a good jab. He's got good front kicks up the middle. And he has some nasty calf kicks of his own that we've seen him really cripple guys with. So this is going to be a very hard fight for both guys, really, because if you're Ulberg, you got to be careful of the power of Oezdemir. But I think Carlos Ulberg's fight IQ and his speed and youth are going to really trouble Volkan in this fight. And it sucks because I think Volkan Oezdemir, he was a guy that really, with a big victory over Ulberg, I think he should be in the title shot conversation. But it's just been, things have kind of worked out the way they are. But this is a big opportunity for Carlos Ulberg, to get a top guy in the division, a dude who, like I said, I think is very, flying under the radar, and Oezdemir, who is very, very dangerous, got good power. But I think that the speed of Carlos Ulberg is going to give Volkan a lot of problems in this matchup. Early prediction, I think Carlos Ulberg is able to get this one done by finish. But either way, I don't think anyone is coming out of that fight conscious. Someone is winning by KO in this fight with Ulberg and Volkan Oezdemir. Moving on. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Xiaonan and Tabitha Ricci. I don't know what the hell's going on. I was completely shocked when I saw this matchup booked by the UFC. I think that this is an absolute horrible matchup for Tabitha Ricci. I think that Xiaonan KOs Tabitha Ricci. Look, I believe Xiaonan, we saw her at UFC 300 against Zhang Weili. We have seen that Xiaonan, yes, there's been some hiccups. We know about the Carla Esparza fight, but outside of that, she is an absolute savage. She's got good striking. Her grappling is decent. We have seen that Yan is a well-rounded fighter, and she is world-class in this division. And what we have seen from Tabitha Ricci is someone who squeaks by winning decisions that aren't very convincing, right? I feel like every time Tabitha Ricci fights, and even if she does win, we're all looking at each other like, did she win? We're all scratching our heads. We could have given it to Angela Hill. I mean, she's coming off the, a loss to, or the win to Angela Hill, which a lot of people thought Angela Hill won the fight. And it just seems like every time we watch Tabitha Ricci, these fights are close. Even the fight before that with Pennington, every fight is razor close. She's never winning any fight convincingly, at least in her past few. And it's so you're going to go in there against one of the top fighters in the division in Yan Xiaonan, who is just fighting for the title, and you just think that Tabitha Ricci is going to go out there and have a lot of success? I don't think so. And I understand that it's a co-main event, and I think it's only 3 rounds, which, again, very much, is very good for Tabitha Ricci, because if this was 5 rounds, she'd be in a world of trouble, in my opinion. Because, look, Tabitha starts fast. She likes to put you up against the fence. Her striking has improved. It's nowhere near as good as Yan Xiaonan. There's a lot of openings for Yan to take advantage of in this, which I think she's really going to hurt Tabitha in this fight, man. I'm serious. And I think that Yes, Tabitha Ricci does have some skills, but I think that this is one of those scenarios where the UFC, they build a prospect, they try to protect him as much as they can, but at some point, they throw you in the deep end, they throw you in the shark-infested waters, and it's sink or swim. And I think that this is a scenario where they're building up Tabitha as slowly as they can, but now it's time to throw her in the shark-infested waters, throw her in the deep end, and see how she does. I think she gets absolutely destroyed by Xianon in this fight. I predict that Xianon finishes her. That's my early prediction here. And I'm definitely I'm not changing my mind on that at all. I think Xianon is clearly the better fighter. This is a huge step up in competition for Ricci. Two totally different fighters. I think Xianon is world class, where I think Tabitha Ricci has a name, but is not necessarily world class. Bad matchup for Ricci. Moving on. Main event. We have Petr Yan versus Deiveson Figueiredo. This is an absolutely spectacular matchup, man. This is an unbelievable fight. And I know after Deiveson's last performance, he got a very impressive victory over Marlon Chito Vera. Yan coming off of an important victory over Song Yadong, which, by the way, in that fight, I don't think I've ever been more nervous for a fight. I mean, I've been nervous for some fights, but the fact that it felt like Yan, it was a must-win for him. All the crap that has happened to Petr Yan, the DQ, the close losses, and it was just a series of unfortunate things for Petr Yan, and he goes out there and puts on a nice performance against Song Yadong, gets the nod. And now he's injured. He has to take some time away, and he's coming back against a former flyweight champion in Figgy, who not only is a former flyweight champion, is looking like an absolute nightmare at bantamweight. Because normally, whenever you see a guy in a lighter weight class move up, the first thing that we're going to say is, well, they should be faster, right? They're going to be a little quicker. They're going to have a speed advantage. But one of the big concerns, well, what's the power going to look like? Is Figgy going to be outgunned here? Is he going to not have the power in this division? Are his opponents going to be hitting harder than he does? Are they going to be able to win in terms of the grappling because they're bigger? Deiveson Figueiredo is answering all of these questions. He was just in there against Marlon Chito Vera, who I think is a pretty good bantamweight. And what we have seen from Figgy is the speed and the versatility of this guy is causing everyone problems. We saw it in the Rob Font fight. We saw it against Cody Garbrandt. And then we just saw it against Marlon Chito Vera. The speed, the aggressiveness, and the ability to mix in the takedowns, threaten with submissions. This dude is absolutely dangerous. And he is a real threat to Petr Yan, because I feel like everyone that is a fight fan, we all have a soft spot, it seems, for Petr Yan, right? This is a guy that we all really like, I think, right? I mean, he has an absolutely, he has a super fun style to watch. He's got very good striking, very good boxing. He has good grappling of his own. And not only just because of some of the BS that's happened to him, but he is always fun to watch. Yan never has a boring fight. This guy is always on his P's and Q's. And I think a matchup like this is guaranteed fireworks. It's going to be a 5-round fight. Obviously, it's a main event, which makes this very interesting because Deiveson Figueiredo has been fighting in a couple 3-rounders. I know he's a former champion. He's been in 5-round fights before. But this one is against a technical machine in Petr Yan. But what does scare me for Yan in this fight is the fact that Deiveson Figueiredo is resorting to the grappling. And what we have seen from Yan is as good of a grappler as he is. He does have good takedown defense. We've seen guys be able to take him down, control him, take his back, and put him in some trouble. And a guy like Figgy, I'm not saying that he's the same grappler as Aljamain Sterling or Merab Dvalishvili, but he does have good grappling. And anyone that's taking down Cody Garbrandt and holding him down and subbing him, that gets my attention. Because I know a lot of people like to rag on Cody. When have we ever seen Cody held down and controlled? That's not really something that we see. So the fact that Figgy was able to do that, and we know about the speed on the feet, the way he was able to hurt Font, the way he was able to drop Marlon Vera, this dude is absolutely turning heads in the bantamweight division. And I think whoever wins this fight puts themselves in a position after Umar gets his title opportunity to possibly be next in line. And I can see an argument for why Yan wouldn't get it, but if Figgy goes out there and beats Petr Yan, he's absolutely going to be next in line for a title shot. But early prediction here, I think Petr Yan is able to get this thing done. If this was a 3-round fight, I would lean maybe a little bit more towards Figueiredo being able to bank on some control time and mixing things up. And he does have good speed. But I think that the well-roundedness of Petr Yan in the striking, the way he blends the boxing with the Muay Thai, the way he uses those foot sweeps, the way that he has prepared for Merab, the way that he's prepared for Aljamain Sterling, I just don't think that Deiveson Figueiredo in terms of the grappling is going to be that threatening to Petr Yan. I could be wrong, but I think in terms of the striking, we all know if you're standing in front of Yan, man, he's one of the best strikers in this division, one of the best strikers in the sport. Incredible main event matchup between these two, and what I think is probably a title eliminator between the two. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I appreciate you all. See you next time.